Yo,
All right.
what's up, my guy?
All right. How are we?
We're doing great, dude. 9-0.
Yeah, a bit of a thriller.
9-0. Chiefs tie a franchise record for
Yes.
best start to a season. We haven't seen this kind of a start since 2003. That year finished 13-3 before we lost the no punt playoff game to the Indianapolis Colts. So
Colts.
Chiefs well on the way to more history. Go figure.
Yeah, after, the first 5, 6 years of Patrick Mahomes, you kind of feel like you accomplished almost everything, and then here we go with continued success. And the same goes for Travis Kelce, right?
There's
What was it?
always going to be.
Yeah, go
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, do it.
So I was just gonna say, there's always gonna be a bar to move forward. There's always gonna be another a stat to displace for these guys. I mean, they have a nose for it, finding
Yeah.
those obscurities within NFL history to set the new bar up here from where it was previously. So, what were you saying about TK?
Yeah, I mean, what was it? 74, 75 touchdowns now.
Yep,
Um,
70, 74, tied with Tony G.
Yeah. Yep. So, we just had that conversation the other day about Tony G, best tight end in history. Whether that debate was up in the air there. But I mean, the way ESPN rolls these days, I mean, they make up so many new stats every single day. I really can't keep up. So I think as long as ESPN's around, we'll just keep breaking new records because they'll just keep coming up with um this team, if there's 3 minutes left in the third quarter and there's a half moon and there's exactly 21 stars in the sky, the Chiefs are 21-0, shit like that. So we'll continue to move along as ESPN makes up new content to talk about. But Dan, Dan, we pull off another win, as you said, 9-0. Chiefs win 16-14, odd score there. But division opponent, there was conversation last week when we were talking about this upcoming game against the Broncos that this is kind of one that looks there that kind of feels like we might overlook it. And we continued to overlook it during the show. And
Yes,
they
we did.
came out as a division opponent and played us tough and really played better than the Chiefs did and damn near beat us. Almost put us to 8-1 and created quite the situation in Buffalo if we were 8-1.
Yeah, that would have been something where it's like teams probably kicking themselves going into Buffalo. We can talk more about what that game actually is going to look like, knowing that the team's undefeated later this week. But yeah, man, hard fought game, divisional game. I think you expect that from any team that you're playing interdivision, regardless of what division you're looking at. This just happens to be the AFC West, and it happens to be the what was the 5-4 Denver Broncos and the undefeated 8-0 Kansas City Chiefs. And I mean, pretty much the first, what was it, the first like quarter, maybe two, kind of a snoozer. It was just like punt, 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 punt. And finally Denver started putting up some points there going into halftime, and all of a sudden we got the Chiefs at a deficit going in the second half. But
Yeah.
man, it was hard fought. I mean, these defenses showed up. There's a reason why Denver is boasting one of the top 10 defenses in the league. They've been fantastic in what that defensive line's been able to do. And Kansas City, on the other hand, fielding a top 5 defense in the league and doing the same things there in terms of just giving teams fits. I think the difference maker in this particular game was the Wanye Morris injury, though.
Yeah, and I think overall, the big ticket item, people are taking away from this game outside of obviously the field goal block is the left tackle position and where we stand with that. Because really, if you look at it from the whole season, a healthy Wanye Morris or an injured Wanye Morris, and the rookie comes in to back him up, the position hasn't played well as a whole throughout the season, and so you expose that injury there, and I'm gonna try to say his name here, Sumataya. Look, I'm not good at those names,
You're getting
but
close.
he comes in and really, really struggles there at the left tackle position.
Oh yeah.
And I think, after the last couple weeks, last week we talked about the defense kind of getting exposed on the shallow routes. And then now there being a gleaming light on the left tackle position. And especially with the teams that we have to play, with the pass rushes we have to play, just in our division with the Raiders, Max Crosby, and then LA. I mean, they got two hard guys coming off the edge, but it's just they come each week, and that's going to be a place that gets, or a position that gets exposed for the Chiefs. And if there is a reason now to be worried about what's going to hold us back from the three-peat, the left tackle position's got to be at the top of that list.
Yeah, I think that's certainly been an area of need for the Chiefs throughout the entirety of the season, right? In all the trade talks, it was one of the prime guys that was getting kind of talked about was Cam Robinson, who ultimately went and backfilled Darisaw out there in Minnesota, coming from Jacksonville. So it's clear that this is still an unaddressed need. One of the things is like, hey, should the Chiefs kick the tires on Donovan Smith? It's obviously something worth considering now. I think
Yeah,
it's
right.
just kind of one injury away from having a turnstile there at left tackle, which is what Kingsley Suamataia did. I mean,
Yeah,
the
there you
guy
go. Thank you.
basically had roots sprouting from his feet into the ground. He just wasn't moving a ton to block anybody. Nick Bonito, man, you mentioned the pass rushers that the Chiefs have to face. Nick Bonito was dominating on that side of the offensive line. Picked up, I think, his like 8th sack of the season, something along those lines. So he's been really solid for Denver the entirety of the year. I think they felt confident enough to offload one of their pass rushers before the deadline too. And that's going to be a tough matchup. The Chiefs see these guys again week 18. Now,
Yep.
ideal scenario, the starters won't be playing in that game. It'll be Carson Wentz taking snaps. But, with the potential of the Broncos, who I believe still hold a wild card seat at this point, making it to the playoffs, it's clear that they know Kansas City better than a lot of other teams do. And I think the matchup makes the fight in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
And that defensive end left tackle matchup, like let's say Wanya Morris comes in and is healthy in a game against Denver and like a divisional round or wild card round matchup, don't know what the future holds there. I mean, if it's going to be Suamataia, you'd be nervous, right? The Chiefs are still favored in that game, but it's not going to be a game um, that's going to be an easy one to win. And I'm throwing out hypotheticals right now, but what
Yeah,
we
sure.
saw on the field here, I mean, you can insert pass rusher here, targeting that left tackle on that side of the ball for Kansas City, and it's going to be an uphill battle. And that's what they faced the entire time. I was getting like flashbacks of Super Bowl 55 with Patrick Mahomes running for his life on a bum ankle, looking for places to throw the ball. And he had for the pressure that Mahomes had to face throughout the entire game, he had a good showing. Like, I wasn't seeing nearly as many of the errant throws and just total miscues that we had seen from Mahomes earlier in the year in that game against Denver on Sunday. And I mean, the guy got sacked 4 times. He got hit even more
Yep.
and still posted a game in which he threw almost a little over 250 yards and a touchdown. Um, the one that set that record for Travis Kelce. So, you know, just didn't have time to develop anything downfield. The Chiefs had to kind of depend on screen games, and throwing it to Kareem Hunt was the leading receiver on the team, for God's sake. So,
Yeah.
uh, I think it totally highlights the need at left tackle. And I think if the Chiefs drop a game in the near future, you can pinpoint left tackle as the problem.
Yeah, I think so. And it's become more of a consistent trend now. I can't remember off the top of my head how many sacks we took last week, but we took 4 sacks yesterday against the Broncos. And I think it was the same last week. I think we had 4 sacks on us last week. But, obviously a trend you don't want to see continuing on. But, this isn't something that the Wanya Morris injury exposed here. This is something that we've known was going to be a weakness, especially after week 1 and week 2, where Wanya Morris took the starting job, right? And so that happened for a reason. But it seems like every 2 to 3 weeks, Wanya Morris goes down with something. Typically comes back into the game. But here we are, going into week 11 now, week 10, and
Week 11.
and we're struggling here at left tackle, and really just a position that you cannot struggle with. But here we are. We're going to go into Buffalo, and it's going to be a tough uphill battle against Buffalo here. Another good team, a team that's had success on the defensive side of the ball. And, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, Josh Allen is still him. But to still dive into the game a little bit, there are some ups and some downs. Offense doesn't score until, I think was 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes left in the second quarter. So right before half, really an ideal time to score if you're going to score in the first half when you've yet to put points up, get some momentum going into halftime there, especially when we got the ball there after half. But typical defensive showing, we usually come out relatively slow on defense and kind of feel out the offense and kind of get a gauge on where the gaps are for us and where we can expose that offense. The Broncos don't score again after that mid-second quarter. I think they scored around the 6-minute mark, and then you don't see the Broncos get back on the scoreboard after that. So, obviously the adjustments from Spags, the on-field adjustments from the players there, has been, second to none really all season outside of what we saw last week, where we just could not address that shallow pass game from the Bucs. But defense is still stellar. I mean, that's really what's going to carry us. I think we're 30 games in at this point, holding teams under 28 points. Only other team to do that was, I think, the 2000 Philadelphia Eagles. And they went for 36, I want to say, 36 games. So obviously doable this season with the team that we have, but it's going to have to be consistent. And with the weaknesses, we do. And then what we've talked about on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to have to carry this team into the rest of the season and really make this a defensive bout. But
Well,
go ahead.
Let's talk about this last drive here as we kind of recap the game. And, what have we always said about the Chiefs defense?
Bend, don't break.
Bend, don't break. Now, one thing that I pulled from this game and watching that last drive is I think the Chiefs are in more danger, whenever a field goal is needed because of that philosophy that kind of takes place where it is bend, don't break. We'll give up some yards. We'll, allow you to kind of move the ball down the field. But once you get inside the 20, that's when the brakes hit.
Sure, of course.
They allowed a 13-play drive that took up almost 6 minutes of regulation and put the Broncos in a position to win the game. So, it started with an undisciplined special teams, right? You got a penalty on the Chiefs that moved the ball well into towards midfield.
Yeah, 40-yard line, man.
And then they just kept chipping away, and all of a sudden, the run defense that we had seen, play so successfully wasn't as good in that key moment. We really weren't getting the pressure on Bo Nix as a rookie quarterback. Like, that should be the area in Arrowhead where the defense just shuts it down, and that wasn't a case. And maybe that's a testament more to Bo Nix than anything, because I think he is very poised as a rookie, and I think Bo Nix played really well given the circumstance. I mean, you're in Kansas City, loudest venue in the NFL, playing against one of the top defenses in the NFL, and you made it a close game, a game that you had a probably 90% chance of winning it going into the final seconds of the game. So I mean, he drove him down into a position where Lutz could kick this field goal, and I don't know. I mean, those are the moments where it's like the defense, I think, just needs to maybe, I don't want to say abandon philosophy by any means, but if that's Buffalo, if that's, I'm thinking Buffalo just because they're relevant. That's who the Chiefs are playing here coming up. But if that's one of these other teams and you're in that scenario, I mean, you cannot bank on just holding to a field goal if they need a field goal. You got to shut it down, and they couldn't get that done here. And maybe I'm being too critical of the defense who held the team to 14 points overall, but that's one of those moments where it's like the bend don't break philosophy is like that's great until we need you to not bend at all. We need you to be rigid because that's making everybody sweat it out. And while I kind of put that criticism on the defense there, they're the only reason this was even a game.
Yeah,
at the
agreed.
same time, because the offense couldn't get it going against what was another superior, or not superior, but supreme defense.
Yeah, agreed. And really, that's a good point. Something I hadn't thought about on the bend don't break. That's probably the first time this season that defense has been put in that position. Usually, it's hey, at least Patrick's going to have a minute here or 90 seconds here, or we're going to have the ball 4.5 minutes left, and it's going to be on Patrick and the offense to wear out the rest of that 4.5 minutes and then go down and score field goal or put it in the end zone, right? And usually that's how games end for us, right? We can control our own destiny at the end of that game. Not that you can on defense, but there's a lot more to control on a defense than there is on the offense. So that's a hell of a thought there, and that's probably something that they're taking into account moving forward in those defensive meetings is, hey, look, we got to get off the field here. And it doesn't matter what, it could be a fumble, it could be an interception that puts the other team inside of your own 50 and they're driving and they need a field goal, but we got to put the clamps down and make something happen. So, I fully expect that's going to be the expectation, but it'll be interesting to see, again, to your point, if you hold a team to 14 points, expectation is that you win that football game, whether it's down to the last minute or it's not, right? And so I think there's also that expectation on the other side of the football that, hey, look, we got, arguably the best quarterback in the league and the best tight end in the league, and we have these other weapons, Kareem Hunt, and we need to exploit these and really, really make something happen here and turn on the Jets. But there is consistency coming out of the offensive side of the ball, though, right? We've really turned down the turnovers, and where we saw last week just one turnover from Travis Kelce. This week we have 0 turnovers, 2 consecutive weeks with no interceptions from Patrick Mahomes. I really didn't think, 3 years ago, I didn't think we'd be cheering about that, but it's been a tough year for him so far.
Yeah.
So, it's we're going to take that week by week, but that's one other area this offense is progressing in the right way. You did mention earlier that Hunt, although a season low for him, at 35 yards, did lead the team in receiving. That can't be a consistent marker there for this offense if we're going to put teams away. And that kind of goes into your score of 16 points. Kareem Hunt can't be your leading receiver at 65 yards, right? So, injuries go into that, but it seems like the whole NFL is limping through the season at this point. I mean, it seems like every single team has marquee guys on the injury report going in each and every week. I mean, I'm just looking at my fantasy team wondering, who am I starting this week? I'm going to have to pick somebody off the bench from the New York Giants. That's how bad I'm looking right now.
Oh, just seeing if you're paying attention there, Bryce. Oh, man. Hey, Tyrone Tracy ain't too bad.
No, he's a starter, man. He's a starter. He's a starter. But yeah, I think there's some daylight on the offense though. I have some good faith in the offense that here by mid-December there could be a real showing of what this offense is capable of.
I think it starts with just getting that left tackle right. You know what I mean? Like if those guys are blocking, you can get all of those things going the way that you described them, and the way that I know that this team believes they're capable of. So, um, final thoughts on that block field goal. I thought it was awesome that Dave Tobe and the coaching staff over there in Kansas City, they were keen enough on the film to pinpoint a guy that has fallen on his ass multiple times in the special teams reps and decided to blow through him with superhuman strength. And Leo Chenal gets the block on the field goal. Jaw dropped. Funny story. I was actually at a baby shower instead of going to the game. My cousin's wife, she and her family are all Broncos fans. So it was a room divided for the baby shower, and we got to watch the Chiefs hang up another win. So that was pretty awesome.
Even better, really. I mean, that's really even better that you got to enjoy that with them there.
Incredible.
I mean, but to talk about the absolute dialed in coaching it takes for somebody to identify that one guy gets knocked on his ass consistently, and that you're going to send Leo Chenal, a guy that looks like the Hulk, through him, not around him,
literally through
him, and then he's going to go block the kick. I mean, that's the kind of shit that separates the Chiefs from the rest of the league, and really, it goes back to the conversation of understanding the overtime rules in the Super Bowl. I mean, those small details of understanding the game that you play, it's just unmatched in Kansas City.
Shot those guys out of a cannon. I mean, if Chenal doesn't bat it, Karlaftis was right there behind him. It was textbook.
Yeah.
You can close the book on the Broncos and give the Chiefs a pretty damn good shot of locking up the AFC West division here in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
So, man, it's Buffalo week. We've been waiting all season for this because Trey and I will actually be in Buffalo, New York for the game. Going to catch it out there with a bunch of Chiefs faithful and Chiefs Kingdom. So looking to take on Bills Mafia. See what that tailgate life is like if it stacks up to what's going on in the parking lots of Arrowhead. So
yeah, you might see a group of us on the glass at the Blues and Sabres game on Thursday night. You'll see a group of guys in Chiefs jerseys chugging beers on the glass, yelling at everyone. So if you see that group, that's us.
That's so funny. Last time we went to Denver, we got to go to a Nuggets game, and everyone's decked out in Chiefs gear.
Like 14 of us.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good time. But we'll talk more about Buffalo week later on this week. But for now, sent the donkeys home without a dub, and that's all I could ask for. So appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for following along with the podcast. It's Odyssey Sports on YouTube. If you want to watch the video, you can check us out on the free Odyssey app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts for the audio only. And of course, we got the socials out there if you want to follow along with the show and any postings and such. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you later this week as we gear up for Buffalo.
Go Chiefs.
Peace.